Okay, last one was fun. I'm ready for the next one. Eurovision was created initially by the European Broadcasting Union in 1956, and it was created with the idea to unite a Europe that was broken by war. What was not counted from the beginning was actually the many differences in the European continent and the different countries that were going to be part in the Eurovision Song Contest.
It's always repeating itself.
I think that a lot of people that start talking about Eurovision and politics, the first thing that they start talking about is, of course, this is very political because countries vote for each other and then the neighbors vote for the other. Spain will always vote for Portugal, Portugal for Spain. And that is, in my opinion, a little bit of a simplification of what geopolitics are. To understand Eurovision is to understand geopolitics a little bit better than just the voting system and the blocking system, because it is only natural that countries vote for each other. That is very normal. Why? Language, the same sounds, the same instruments. I am based in Hungary and I love many times the Ukrainian songs or the Moldovan songs because the instruments that they use are very similar to the instruments that we use, and then I feel a song that it is closer to what I know, but it's also a song that is most likely to appear on the radio more than the French song. So it is obvious that actually those songs who are from neighboring countries, they have normally same producers, they have also same record labels, and then they're gonna play in the radio stations of the neighboring countries, and that's why I actually started creating a hype. Now I have to be very critical, especially with journalists that approach the competition with the intention to live up on the dramas and the political divisions that doesn't necessarily need to be there in a singing competition. Many times there are journalists who just come to provoke and then to exacerbate and poke the bear with some of the participants, which I think that is very unethical. I do remember specifically an occasion where one of the journalists was actually just poking the Azeri and the Armenian singers just to go against each other, and they did not fall into the game, at least not when they were being interviewed. If we see the footage, then you will see that actually the Armenian singer ended up falling in the game.
I want to take my stance on Armenian representatives' actions today. And let me tell you that Nagorno-Karabakh is an international part of Azerbaijan, and no country... Is that a question or a... No, attitude.
Eurovision is a song contest, and it's all about music.
And I am not saying that actually these games of provocations are only happening because of journalists, because there are some governments who are actually using the Eurovision as a tool to provoke each other whenever they can. Look at it from the perspective of Eurovision 2017. After Ukraine won in 2016 and they hosted the competition, then they decided to pass a governmental decree that was saying that any artist who performed in Crimea was prohibited to enter the country. And then in the process of selection of the songs, then Russia decided to select internally a singer who deliberately they knew that she sang in Crimea, and therefore she was not going to be allowed to enter the country. But then Russia ended up having the song disqualified. They just withdrew from the competition. They didn't participate that year. And then this is actually a very sad fact, because countries should not use the Eurovision just as a platform to discuss their differences that should be discussed in different forums.
There's a light, and in the darkest time a flame is burning. It shines so bright, deep into night. Love is a light, and in the dark a flame is burning. A flame is burning.
Another thing that I want to address is the inequalities of Eurovision, and the fact that this differentiation between the East and the West, it is visible, and it can be very offensive many times for Eastern countries and for countries who maybe don't have the same means. Hosting Eurovision is expensive. Sending a song to Eurovision is expensive. The amount of pyrotechnics and things that you see, it's something that every country and every delegation have to pay for. There are countries that cannot afford these things. There's a reason for it. For example, you will see a song performed by San Marino, and they don't have all the fireworks and everything that, for example, Sweden can afford. And that is unfair, because every country, in theory, is entering on an equal foot. But then they are not given the same resources, because they actually have to pay for their own staging. And I understand it is expensive. But then also, that is very visible on the inequality of 5 countries that just because they pay more and because they have contributed, they have an automatic pass to the grand final of the contest. That is Italy, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, and Spain. And those countries have an automatic pass. Normally they don't have the biggest songs or the best songs. The last big 5 country that won was Germany with Lena. That was a good song, but then besides that, you know, many countries, when they see this inequality, you understand why there are protest songs. You understand why there are countries that withdraw from Eurovision. Now you understand, for example, that Turkey has withdrawn from the competition fully since 2012 because they're not happy with the voting system and the fact that there are 5 nations that just because they have more resources than the others, they will get immediately qualified, which is unfair in my personal opinion, and then talks a lot about the politics of inequality between the East and the Western countries.
Yes, sir, we are legal, we are not as legal as you. No, sir, we're not equal, no, we're both from the EU. We build up, we wash up, your hands are squeaky clean. Someday you'll come to realize it's in your dream.
Because of the scars that we have in Europe, and many times those imposed borders that we have a lot of minorities, ethnic minorities, living many times across the border. As an Eastern European, I've seen many of my friends leaving the East in order to look for a better future in the West. You have many Romanians, Hungarians, Moldovans, Ukrainians, Lithuanians, Polish people who live in the West, who live in the UK, who live in Belgium, who live in France, in Spain. And this is actually very interesting because those diasporas are craving for supporting their homeland in a way. And then understanding the power of the diaspora supporting also the songs of their homeland is very important because that plays a factor in Eurovision. And that is the reason why many times you see people in the UK voting for Romania or for Hungary or for Lithuania, because many people who live in the UK and are from these countries, they're voting back home and then trying to say, I cannot be there, at least let me give my vote and support somehow my country in this way. To conclude this part, I really want to highlight that yes, as neighbors and as a diverse continent, we do have a lot of tensions, and then we do have a lot of geopolitical problems. And of course, as humans, we're going to be drawn to highlight those aspects of what makes us different. But I think that Eurovision has a very powerful thing, that is to create a common understanding of why those differences are good and why that makes us stronger. Why do I have to celebrate the fact that 100 kilometers away from where I live, there is another nation that speaks a completely different language, that has different food and different traditions, and that is beautiful. And then I do think that if we put on aside the fact that we have many conflicts and tensions on the geopolitical level, then we need to celebrate that Eurovision brings us together at least once a year in a platform where we can celebrate our unity as a continent. And that is something that Eurovision and media could achieve, and that maybe us in politics, we haven't been able to do so yet.